Hi there, I'm Juliana Carroll, and this is my sister and partner in Coffee and Tech, Lisa Jackson. Together, we are your hosts here at the Coffee Tech Talk Show, exploring anything and everything to do with work orchestration and automation. We're here to be the catalyst for industry change by reaching beyond soulless solutions, listening, and learning from all our collective experiences. Most importantly, we're building a community of people who can share, learn, and grow together.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lee Jackson, and we are back for the next episode. We have a special guest for you today. I have my coffee. We're ready and set to go. I'm here, as always, with my sister, Juliana Carroll, and we're going to be introducing a very special guest.
Thank you for joining us, Rob Gray. I'll let you introduce yourself. So
now we're going to have Rob introduce yourself. Tell us what you do and, how long have you been in it?
So I've been in tech for 30 years. I started in software houses, app dev, mainframes, and then moved up through the levels. Went into banking, went into Swiss Bank, UBS for 10 years, Merrill Lynch, Bank of America for 10 years. And now I'm in a consultancy company where I run one of the practices around real change. So really changing enterprises, moving beyond the last 30 years into how things really should work.
30 years.
30 years.
Long time, so you were 12 years old when you started.
very,
Thanks for reminding us that.
You're very, very kind. And it's interesting because some things have changed. A lot of stuff hasn't changed in workflow. Things are still very efficient, but we've come to the pivot point where things like AWS and other things actually do offer a chance for change.
Yeah.
And people need to know what actually can change. And enterprises just don't have it at the moment. They don't get it. They still spend billions of dollars and waste 70-80% of the money.
So obviously you have this accent, and it's not an American accent. Where are you from, and when did you come to the States?
Yeah, well, I live in Jacksonville Beach now.
Nice.
But don't be fooled by that. So I originally came from the south of England and worked in London for 20 years. But I've worked on and off in the US for 25 years.
Okay, very nice. Why don't you tell everyone about what we've covered in the last few episodes and what we're going to be doing here today?
So we started this thing, as we discussed earlier, so that we can build a community of like-minded people about work, right? And we started out with workflow orchestration because people is about work and how we orchestrate and then and we automate and make work better, faster, cheaper. So and we laid out the foundations. This is probably our 7th show now. And we're just going to converse about your experiences at work, and later on maybe if you have some tips to share with upcoming people that are joining the workforce. So,
Right.
Yeah, I think companies will have to evolve, right? I mean, remember when you had to be at your desk because it was where your PC is, it was where you had to be work. And then when the laptops started coming out, now I'm showing my work age. But then you become more mobile, right? And then the company started setting policies about laptop and mobility. Then it was, as things go, risk abounds, right? As it becomes more and more adopted. So, there were hackers, people losing their machines. Then there's company policies about that. And I have not yet seen a company policy about how we behave in a video conference and how that is the norm, right? Just like we had to wear suits. Remember in the banks, we had to come in wearing suits. That's an alien concept, but you cannot show up at work unless you have a suit, female included, right? So why not have the same rules if that is a desired culture in a company? Right? So we're not there yet because, just like you said, people think this is a temporary thing. Yeah. But what if this becomes a norm, right? Thinking outside again, looking out at the trends. So I think we will have a new norm.
It worries me a bit because coming from banking, I used to serve as the head of the Diversity Council in Europe.
Yeah.
We have to be careful that when we're working virtually, we don't impose a particular style.
Right.
Let's choose a New York trader style, very, very aggressive, very very white in some cases, very middle-aged guy in some cases. We have to be careful when we go into virtual. We don't impose the current diversity structures of how people act on video conferencing. So I sit here, I can't telepresence. We could, if we're not careful, stifle people's personalities even more by dictating that. So I'm actually doing some work at the moment. How do we actually make sure people's personalities and styles and cognitive styles actually come out so we don't lose the personal aspect, or else we just become dehumanized?
Or the collaboration and, chatting like this is where ideas and, innovation happens, right? Determination of an idea. And so I think that will come over time. People make policies and rules because something happened and they learned about it and they said it. And sometimes they go overboard and then they kind of reverse it back a little bit. So pivoting, I think something like that will eventually happen.
I think so. I think that is going to be the new normal, and a lot of my colleagues and friends hate that word. It's the new normal. It's going to be the norm, I think. When you look at Facebook made an announcement, 50% of their employees are going to be remote. That's the same in our industry as well. Sales, we're used to it. Marketing, we're used to it. But the project management, the assistants, account management, and office workers, they're not used to that. And I've been in so many virtual, meetings and summits and things since all this happened. And I remember meeting with 3 other people, and they were in marketing, and a couple of them had hoodies on, sweatshirts. And I don't think that was professional, to be honest. It was the first time that I met them. Yeah. And you're at home, I get it, and we can be more casual, but when you're meeting someone, first impressions are always important. And
it still matters.
It's like, I think it matters a lot. Yeah. You can be your personality, but dress as if you're going to a meeting. You know what I mean? I don't think it's cool to be wearing, hoodies and sweatshirt to a virtual meeting, especially when it's your first time meeting someone. That's not professional to me. So that's my 2 cents on that.
I think there's another danger in the remote working, and that is work. We talked about it earlier. Work is about the outcome stuff that happens around all the overhead and meetings. What we're seeing, I've seen personally, is suddenly let's be in contact all the time, and it's meeting after meeting, and you have no thinking time. The one thing I'll say to everyone that's listening to this is, the more senior you become and the more specialist you become, you need to generate thinking time.
Yeah.
Because to come up with new ideas, you've got to just step away for a second and go, that's ridiculous. I've spent 17 hours just moving 3 boxes around on a PowerPoint. That's insane. And then we have to send something to the proofreaders, then it comes back, we've got an edit, we're going to have 17 people edit it across 24 hours. Yeah. Then it goes back to the proofreaders and you go, we could cut that whole thing out, but you don't get time to think because you're too busy doing it. Right. And I see lots of busy work being done remotely that isn't the actual work. So I actually think sometimes wearing a hoodie is better than having somebody set up 1,000 hours of meetings. So I think we have to change how we think about things. But I do completely agree with you that the impression people get of you when you're working remotely needs to be maintained professionally.
Yeah. I'm okay with the second or third time, not the first. That's just me. I don't know. I'm kind of old school too, though.
I left my hoodie at home.
And trust me, I have a few hoodies, and I will wear that, especially when I'm traveling, but not to a meeting. So
we showered before we
Oh, that's something else. That's what put me on this side.
That's right. So we have 2 more questions, and it's going to be a 2-part question. What kind of advice would you give the listeners, those who are out there who want to be in the industry and to get to where you are today? What did you have to do, and what advice would you give them? And the second part to that is, what advice would you give to people on how to make the world of work better, smarter, faster, and what Jay likes to say, cheaper?
Yeah. So advice, how do you get? Hard work.
No escaping that, is there?
10 years it took me to become a line manager, 10 years. So you can't avoid it's work, and 90% of the stuff is still hard work. So that's the first thing, is you have to work hard. You also have to act like you would expect to be if you had a more senior position. So we've seen people through my career say, well, actually, that's ridiculous. I wouldn't do that. So, well, what if you were that boss? And you had to make a decision between A and B, and you're the person proposing A. Oh, would you do that? Would you act the same way? Well, no, if I was the boss, I'd act differently. Well, why don't you start acting like that, dressing like that, coming across like that? So you have to look, and you have to look both at positive role models and negative role models. Well, I never would do that. The way that lady briefed us there, the way that other lady told us was a far better way of, asking us to work a weekend. So you have to learn and adapt. There's so much material out there. Be careful. Look at good role models. In terms of better, cheaper, faster, why? So I work in cloud. I'm one of the senior cloud consultants. Why are you moving to cloud? What business reason is there for? Well, everybody's doing it. Not a good answer. It's going to be so much cheaper. Not a good answer, unless you've got spiky consumption, unless you've got a trigger event like a data center exit, unless your business delivering, let's say it's face mask production, face mask production. If you can deliver that 3 weeks earlier, it doubles your revenue. Okay, maybe we're talking about something here, but don't just do something. Know exactly why you're doing it. And if I'm doing this for you, and you're the head of marketing, or you're running the division, what about your customers? What about their customers? Am I doing it to actually add a real value, or am I just pleasing you? So you need to look back and keep asking why. The second thing you need to do is, once you've decided what good looks like, you have to be really honest with yourself and say, that's going to cost me $2 million. Oh yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to earn lots of money. How much money? How much money? Annually. So let's look at annual revenue that's going to create. Well, that's going to create, that's going to be great. It needs to create, it needs to pay for itself first of all. Okay, so $2 million annually, I need to earn probably $10 million with margin. And then to do that, I need to sign a 5-year. And then all of a sudden the numbers become very, very big for the return. So you take your $2 million, becomes 10, becomes $1 billion with the pipeline you need to get just to get that money back. So you have to be very, very honest about the real financials. And then you need to track to that and then deliver very, very quickly. So for me, if you're listening about career and how you do things better, cheaper, faster, make sure you're fixing the problem, not the symptoms. Make sure you're very clear with the key people that are going to work out whether that was successful, because doing it and then you didn't talk to the head of the department, and they go, that wasn't what I wanted. How many times have you heard that? And then the other advice is really around people. We talked about workflow being around all this inefficiency. Let's say you're managing and you're very fortunate and you run a big division of 100 people and you want to make some decisions about something strategic. You can get everybody together and you can get a broad view of something. Drop those people off any further meetings. Decide actually it's going to be the two of you are going to be going away and actually taking the next step in that. Give you autonomy that you can go and decide that. Don't keep the working group of 100 people keep going. They were involved at the beginning. They had some initial views. Now it's down to 2 or 3 people that can go away and decide how it's going to be done.
Right.
And then they can go and implement it. Don't have this horrible death by steering committee, death by thousands of people on calls. And try and limit the meetings. Let them be doing work. Get in there, prototype it. Actually have something you can see rather than this PowerPoints. So it's less about talking, and it's more about being very clear about the goals, what the high level outcomes meant to be, and then giving small groups of people the ability to go out and actually do it. And just try and, I suppose the last thing is try and get out of the meetings and the email. Give yourself thinking time. There's loads of time management sites on there. Think about how you strip out 3 hours a day to actually do the doing work and the thinking work. Final tip, you should ask yourself every 6 months, are you doing the right job? You should ask yourself, am I doing the right things? What have I learned? Am I learning? Or am I just doing the job? Am I thinking about how I can do it better? Am I thinking like I should be my boss? You can do a lot yourself. Again, go ask people. I don't have all the answers. Ask other people. I talked about good and bad role models. See the good, see the bad, and choose the one you think works. It doesn't have to be the industry one, because the industry might be wrong.
Right.
In fact, the industry is often wrong. And then someone comes along like Uber
Yeah.
or Netflix. They do something differently, and they just blow everyone away because they just said, we're not going to conform to that anymore. We're going to challenge the norms and think a bit bigger.
Right. That was great. That was really, really good advice, actually. I like how you think, and that was think like a boss, right? There's a book or a movie that actually is called Think Like a Boss. And I actually live by that model that you just said. I like that a lot. When it comes to business, that's what I do.
Somebody in my company has a really nice line on this, and he says, do the right thing. And then once you've decided the right thing to do, do the thing right. I like that. That's very, very simple.
Oh, that's our quote for the week then. We always, that's Jay's thing, right? It's all about the quote that we would put up, on a weekly basis. And when our guest gives us a certain quote, we're gonna steal that and post it. That's okay.
We're gonna share that.
Share.
Actually, I found it's been trademarked already. It's trademarked.
We're going to share the quotes. We don't steal things.
Now, again, that wasn't like interesting.
Right.
That's something I hear.
Yeah.
And I use it again. You have to learn.
Absolutely. Well, I think we have one more question, and you would be a good person to answer this. If your boss came to you and said that I have $1 million that you can spend on innovation or improvement project, what project would you choose, why, and how would you spend that money?
So a bit of a get out of jail question answer to this. So a lot of things are top down when it comes to investment. What you have to do is you have to create change rather than creating a big projects. The best change actually comes from somebody seeing something change. So let me give you an example. We're starting to grab a taxi. We're standing there outside the road. I'm there, I'm waving my hand around in New York, and you just go, it's my $1 million just arriving. I go, well, hang on, that wasn't 10% faster than me. That was an order of magnitude faster than me. So when you have something that's not just a slight improvement, but it's like, wow, I want that. That's how innovation really happens. Somebody does something, and people go, I want that in my life. So I would take $1 million. I would actually get together the people that know on the ground how things work. And I would very clearly get them to have some thinking time to actually work out what would actually make a difference. So I wouldn't give them all the money. I would put that money aside and say, what's something that would really make a difference that you probably know, that you've probably been telling management for the last 20 years, or 10 years, or 3 years, or maybe even it was last week. And then I'll fund that for you. And by doing that, people will see change. And it has to be quick. It can't be something that's a 3-year delivery. Can you do something that would help us next month? These coffee machines, we're basically, this particular bit is breaking all the time. We're having real trouble because of the throughput. It causes big delays. Well, can we fix it? Yeah, but they're expensive. They're like $5,000. Well, maybe, and then you look at the impact of that. So I would actually take the money. I would actually put it out to people on the ground that are directly connected to the outcome I'm looking for, and I'll have them pitch, and then we would actually give them the money, and then let them implement that. I think that's a bottom-up view of improvement. It would also make them feel involved, that they're listened to, they can actually be involved in the fixes, and as well as these top-down programs, I think some of these bottom-up things, so I would do that, I'd change it around, and make it their ideas. And that would make them, involved. They feel like they had it to, we talked about autonomy, mastery, purpose. They've got autonomy there.
Yeah. I think I've probably nodded a lot today. Thank you for that. And I don't know about you guys, but I have definitely learned a lot. And it's been a great conversation. Rob, thank you so much. I really enjoyed this today. And if people wanted to get a hold of you, how can they contact you?
On LinkedIn, I'm on LinkedIn. LinkedIn.
On LinkedIn,
Yeah, you
Rob
can.
Gray.
Gray, G-R-E-Y.
What?
E-Y.
Grey. Rob Gray on LinkedIn, or do you have a generic email you want to give, or just LinkedIn?
Or they can contact us.
Oh,
Yeah,
And
you
then
can
we
contact.
can,
okay.
But I think
Yeah.
the sort of the dirty secret of any sort of thing like this is when you explain yourself to somebody,
Mhm.
it makes you think differently. So actually, I learn as much from doing this as anybody listening to this. So I'm happy to have conversations. I think the community is really important. And also, sometimes you come across something that's hard.
Mhm.
Everybody in life, from the government to an individual, you have something that's really quite difficult.
Yeah.
And I believe in humanity. If you've got a difficult problem and you ask, there are people that want to help you.
Mhm.
I
have to
totally
ask the
agree
question.
with that. Yes, and I have taken advantage of that. And that's the thing, right? One of the reasons we started this is so that let it be known who are in the community that's willing to discuss things, willing to hear, willing to have a conversation, willing to have coffee with you, right? So, yeah, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
And if you need to contact us, you know how to get in touch with us, and that's connect@CoffeeTechTalk.show, and subscribe to our YouTube at CoffeeTechTalk. Follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. So with that said, we'll talk to you next time. Anything else, Jay?
No, until next time, thank you.
Until
you.
next time.